Hey up, just a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, AOC TFT Systems, and would you believe from now until the 5th of December 2025 you can get 28%, yes 28% off these systems when you go through the affiliate link in the description section of this video. 28% off with code TBW28. Brilliant systems these, I have them on all my bikes. You get in Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, front and rear video cameras with constant recording, tyre pressure monitoring, and with some of the models you're even getting a proximity radar. Brilliant bit of kit. Okay, AOC TFT Systems, 28% off through the link below. Woohoo! I remember clearly the first time I felt real fear. A brief moment in history which burned itself into my memory as if it were a branding iron. I must have been no more than 5 or 6 years of age. It was the middle of the night and I'd awoken suddenly in the darkness of my small bedroom in our old tourist house in Bradford. I'm far from certain about what it was that had roused me from sleep. A nightmare? A sudden noise? Some bodily discomfort? It could have been any one of those things which routinely cause us all to wake from a sound slumber. Or it could have been something else. Whatever it was, I was anxious enough to call out to my parents sleeping across the landing from me, with an entreaty to them to be allowed to move into their double bed and continue my sleep in the safest place in the world, the warm cocoon-like space between them. Such a switch of sleeping arrangements in the small dark hours was rare, but not entirely without precedent. But I recall on this occasion a sense of urgency in the affairs of the matter, and so immediately upon receiving the appropriate consent, I made my way the few feet into my parents' bedroom and started to slide under the covers. At the foot of that bed against the back wall was my mother's old dressing table, a well-worn mahogany veneer affair with brass-handled drawers, black ebonised legs and a central tilting mirror. In just a few hours' time I would wake to see Mum shaping her hair and applying her makeup in that same mirror as she prepared to face another working day. For whatever reason, I recall clearly taking a last look at that dressing table before closing my eyes for sleep. It was, as usual at such times, dimly silhouetted by the sodium street light leaking through the gap between the curtains. And that's when I saw it. At first I was unable to speak, my throat locked in spasms of terror and disbelief. But that paralysis quickly gave way to a half scream, half wail from the depths of my young soul. Something utterly primeval, as my father would later describe it. Clearly, my distress was sufficiently high up the scale to rouse both Mum and Dad into asking what on earth was wrong with me. But they'd not seen what I had so very clearly seen, whilst their heads were buried in the bedding. By the time they had looked in the direction in which my rictus expression was locked, it had gone. It was something truly unholy, yet very real. As I'd cast my eyes in the direction of that dressing table before taking up my position under the covers, what I can only describe as the grotesque, disembodied head of an old man floated from left to right between that dressing table and the foot of the bed. As it neared the window to my right, it then dissolved into nothing. Gone. I couldn't find the words to tell my parents what I'd seen. Some things are just so completely terrifying that to recount them is to relive them. And so it was that I never mentioned my experience with this apparition to parents or family. In any case, it would surely have been put down to the ordinary night terrors or waking dreams of a 5-year-old, and given therefore little, if any, credence. But then, as now, I know with a certainty which is hard to explain that no prosaic explanation could ever account for what I saw. Over the many decades which have passed since that dreadful night in the late 1960s, I have reflected upon it often. It comes back to me at almost every moment of quiet introspection these decades later. It meant something. I'm certain of that. I have throughout 30 years of frontline police service encountered some truly frightening situations. Some of them where over sustained hours I've feared for my life, and well known that strange metallic taste in the mouth which often accompanies such events. But looking back, it is that seconds-long manifestation of something evil revealed to a small frightened child in the dead of night which still haunts me to this day. Latterly, I've come to believe that that disembodied head had actually followed me into my parents' bedroom from my own little room. That would explain the path it took from door to window. Perhaps it was present in my room and that was the cause of my sudden awakening. Perhaps this entity had been stalking me for a long time and for whatever reason had chosen this night to reveal itself. I didn't realise it at the time, but the nature of the appearance of the face of that old man was one I would become very familiar with. That of the decay and decomposition which disfigures all humans in the weeks and months following death. This was the face of a man a long time post-mortem. Whether the earlier death of my maternal grandfather, who lived with us and slept in my room before his sudden demise from a heart attack, has some connection, I do not know. He was with us for several years in that house and often looked after me whilst my parents were at work. But he died some distance from home, not in that house. Or so I was told. I tell this story now not for theatrical effect or chilling entertainment, but because it is a fact which resides in my history. An event as real as all the ground I have walked on these past decades, all the souls I have ever encountered, every deed done at my hand. I have never encountered anything remotely like it before or since, but I have the strongest feeling that its true significance will be revealed to me at the end. Fear is the oldest and most primal of human emotions, an ancient alarm system hardwired into the deepest recesses of our brain. It's the cold grip that seizes the heart in the dead of night, the silent scream that echoes in the face of the unknown, and the invisible boundary that dictates the edges of our known world. Yet, to define fear merely as a physiological response, a cascade of cortisol and adrenaline preparing the body for fight or flight, is to ignore its profound and often paradoxical role as the unseen architect of the human experience. Alcide. you.